This is an Ankhs crack pipe research project.
Nimrod and his father Cush, aka Asar, aka
Osiris, aka Bacchus, aka Tammuz.
Pharaoh Manes, that was another name that Cush went by, or Pharaoh Narmer was another name for Nimrod, aka PHARAOH, who's the quote-unquote Christ figure or Lucifer on the left-hand side. And the reason why I cover these names repetitively is particularly for many of you brothers that are in the knowledge who might not fully grasp the importance of understanding these quote-unquote pagan deities. Because when you read the Bible, you have to read it through a historical context, through a historical lens, because the Bible is a history book. A lot of people do not understand that or accept that. Why is that? Because we're living in an age of Luciferianism, where Luciferianism is being pushed and promoted as liberty, as freedom. And that's only to reveal those who are not of the truth. And that's only to reveal those who are not of the truth. And that's only to reveal those who are not of the truth. And they have to be raised up, just like the righteous have to be raised up.
Peace, peace, family. This video right here is about Christmas, America's biggest satanic holiday. Now, I know what a lot of y'all getting ready to do and say, oh, Christmas is about Jesus and holiday cheer and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. And y'all know how I do and how I've been doing on this channel. I've been coming with the facts. So hold on to your reindeer. Don't fall out your sled, okay? Because we finna do the same thing and slide on Christmas, okay? Now, Christmas has nothing to do with Jesus, okay? And December 25th is not only astrologically significant to the sun setting within the southern sky, specifically within a Crooks constellation for 3 days, from December 22nd to December 25th before it comes back into the northern hemisphere, hence the biblical, allegorical, astrological, metaphorical reference of the sun, aka Jesus, dying and rising again 3 days later. But December 25th is associated with with a European / German folkloric deity named Krampus. Okay? Now, it's finna get crazy. Okay? Krampus is known as the Christmas devil. Okay? So, before we go, because Santa Claus is Satan. Okay? And we're gonna prove this. Now, Santa Claus, right, is Satan. If you take the N out of Santa Claus and put it on the back, it spells Satan.
Christmas is not a holiday. Now, just getting back to some of the origins of so-called Christmas, December 25th was recognized as the birth of Osiris, aka Bacchus, aka Tammuz. Why is that? Because the winter solstice represented the disappearance of the sun and the reappearance of the sun. The ancient cultures worshipped the sun.
At summer solstice, the sun rises along the causeway in front of the Great Pyramid and moves across the sky, setting between the second and the Great Pyramid. In the winter, the sun rises in line with the Grand Causeway by the second pyramid and sets between the second and third pyramids, making a short trajectory. It appears that the causeways are deliberately pointing towards the rising sun on the summer and winter solstices.
The ancient cultures practiced what was known as a stellar religion, S-T-E-L-L-A-R, meaning they utilized the star formations and many of the other celestial bodies as embodiments of the notable figures of antiquity, that being Cush, Nimrod, Semiramis, etc. Okay, so the sun disappears on December 21st, what we call the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year, and then it starts to reappear on December 24th. People have to understand that Christmas is not just a holiday on the 25th. It starts on December 24th, and in the ancient time, that was known as Mother's Night, right? That's why we call it Christmas Eve. Okay, so the celebration starts on December 24th and goes into December 25th, where it was known in ancient Rome as the Saturnalia, in which the practices were drunkenness and revelry, wanton sex, of course, the exchange of gifts. In ancient Rome, the slaves would trade places with the master for a day. And they would put on, if I remember correctly, I think it was a purple robe, the color purple symbolizing rulership. Also, please remember that Nimrod, in his manifestation as Baal or Molech or even Saturn, was the god of death. So oftentimes on December 25th, they would have numerous gladiatorial games where on those days they would be forced to fight to the death as a sacrifice to Nimrod. In history, when you see things like the Aztecs sacrificing people to the sun god, that was in commemoration of Nimrod. As he was known as in his incarnation as the god of death, Osiris, Sheba, Saturn. It's all talking about the same person. I go over this over and over and over again. But that's what the Christmas festival is about. Like the 12 days of Christmas. Those were 12 days in ancient Kemet where they venerated Osiris. So now they just transferred it over to the quote unquote 12 days of Christmas. Okay.
Now let's continue to get crazy. Okay. Let's focus on the Christmas tree, right? The Christmas tree, right, is what? A decorated tree that you set up in the awaiting of Satan, aka Santa Claus, to bring you your gifts. Now let's go to the occultic sciences behind the tree, right? The tree itself represents the tree of knowledge within the Bible. The balls on the tree represent the fruits on the tree that Eve ate from, that the devil told her to eat from, aka Satan. The ribbons on the tree represent the serpent aka the form of Satan in this particular story when he talked to Eve. Okay? And the 5-point star on the top of the tree represents the pentagram, which in Satanism is a symbol for Lucifer. Okay? And not only is it lit up, you got lights on the tree. Why? Because Lucifer is the beholder of light. So your Christmas tree is a replica of the tree of knowledge. And remember, Luciferians believe that Lucifer gave Adam and Eve the gift of knowledge that God tried to withhold from them. This is why you're waiting for Santa, aka Satan, to come down your chimney and give you a gift underneath your Christmas tree. See? See?
Let me say this. The evergreen tree, as being symbolically used as the Christmas tree, that was brought in by the ancient Romans. They brought in the fir tree as symbolizing Osiris, as he was known in Rome as Saturn. The ancient people of Kemet used the palm tree because the understanding was that the mother goddess, as she was known as Auset, or she's also known as Sybil, or Cybele, or Rhea, or Minerva, whatever you want to call her, the mother goddess, she was represented by a tree. Why? Because a tree produces fruit, and the fruit is representative of teachings. So one of her branches represented her son, that being Nimrod, her son/husband. So when the branch was broken off, it was cast into the fire. That's representative of when he was killed, because that's what occurred to Nimrod when Shem put down his apostasy, or put down his rebellion. Shem is known in the Kemetic mystery schools as Set or Typhon. He's represented in the constellations as Taurus. Okay, and that's where you get, just as a digression, as an aside, that's where you get the image of the god Mithras, spelled Mithras. Mithras is another manifestation of Osiris or Bacchus, or whatever you want to call him. And they always show Mithras grabbing the bull by the horns. That's where you get that statement from. You have to grab the bull by the horns. Mithras is grabbing the bull by the horns and the nostrils, and he's stabbing him, because that represents Nimrod getting revenge on Shem, who had him put to death, had him chopped up. Okay?
Look at the zodiac constellation: Leo, Taurus, Pisces, and here the constellation of Orion and the star Sirius.
Many civilizations give a special place to the constellation of Orion. Before the horns of Taurus, he stands as the great hunter with his belt of 3 stars. To the Egyptians, he was Osiris, god of afterlife, and he is closely linked to the pyramids.
Now let's keep it kicking, okay? Because we want to talk about sacrifice rituals. Because you might just think burning the birch wood in your fireplace is just something people do on Christmas. No, that comes from the Yule practice, okay? Yule practice was a German pagan, as they like to call it, festival, which lasted from December 21st to January 1st, okay? Where they would do human sacrifices, specifically on December 25th. And on December 25th, one of the sacrifices would be they would burn a human alive. So the birch wood, okay, is symbolic to a human when you throw it in the fireplace. Now, they also tell you to keep a piece of your wood or keep a piece of your Christmas log, okay? So that way you can burn it for next year. And they say every year you're supposed to keep a piece and throw it in the fireplace every year. The reason that they tell you to keep a piece is so that you can keep the same energy and welcome it into your home each year, okay? So this is all occultic, all satanic, okay? All satanic practices that you have no clue of because you think you worshiping baby Jesus.
Anyway, the tree was representative of the mother goddess, whose branch was broken off, which is symbolized by the log that's thrown into the fire, as Nimrod was put to death and he was thrown into the fire. Okay, first he was dismembered and then thrown into the fire. So when the branch was broken off of the tree symbolically and thrown into the fire, that's where you get the symbol of the Yule log, because the term Yule also means boy or son. Okay, so many of these mythological stories, they have double and triple meanings, because as I tell you, brothers, they're coded versions of what occurred historically. So when, in the morning, when the tree is reinvigorated or regrown, that represents Nimrod being sprung back to life as Tammuz. The word Tammuz, the name Tammuz, means purified by fire, because he was thrown into the fire, but he was reborn. And that represents the reinvigoration of the teachings of Cush, Nimrod, and Semiramis.
Christmas ain't got shit to do with no Jesus Christ, except for the fact that, as I've stated before, Jesus and Lucifer is the same person, because Jesus in the Bible refers to himself as the morning star, and Satan in the Bible refers to himself as the morning star, okay? And you both see Lucifer and Jesus doing this. This symbol right here is called the symbol of apostolic succession, which leads to temporal power, which means that the Pope is the head of all nations and religions on the earth until the one true God returns, which is Lucifer, okay? So you think you're waiting on a Messiah to return, but there were no vowels back then, okay? So if you take all of the vowels out of the word Messiah, it spells the word mus, like a snake hiss, like a serpent, like Lucifer, okay? And the word mus, okay, comes from Demotic text, okay? And that's the name for the Egyptian crocodile deity for Sobek, and that all is referenced back to Freemasonry and the Illuminati, because they consider the head of the Pindar a reptilic-like being or a dragon, okay? So if you're waiting on a Messiah, aka a mus, you waiting on a dragon. And in the Bible, it says what? Lucifer or Satan are both referred to or referenced as a dragon, okay? Lucifer in the garden was talking to Eve in the form of a serpent, a mus. With a hiss, like mus. And you wait on the Messiah. So you think Jesus is your Messiah, but you know that Jesus and Satan is both the morning star.
Most of you brothers most likely know this already. The term Vatican means the divining serpent. Okay? In the ancient world, they venerated the dragon / serpent because of the correlation between the serpent and wisdom. The serpent is always going to be used as a symbol for rulership and divine wisdom. That's why it's likened unto the sun, because the serpent was viewed as being the enlightener of man, like the sun in the sky is the enlightener of the earth. So the correlation was always placed together. Once again, in the ancient world, they did not literally worship the sun. The sun was used as an emblem, as an image, as a symbol of light, of knowledge. Now for the profane, meaning the people who were not meant to gain an understanding of the mysteries, they were told, yes, you just worship the sun. Like you have a lot of these Kemet dudes out here who tell you, yeah, why can't we worship the sun? The sun bring light and heat. You know why they say that and why they have that low level understanding? Because they're amongst the profane. They're not meant to understand the mystery school system. The mystery school system is bent totally around the veneration of Nimrod and his father Cush. And also, in an extended sense, the veneration of Adam. Remember, Adam is the earthly man. He acts as one of the counterparts of Christ. Christ has numerous counterparts, one of them being Nimrod, another one being Adam. Adam was not a righteous man, despite what many people might think. He actually was the first Saturn. He was the first Pan. He was the first hidden one. When you read Genesis, the 3rd chapter, of course, we see Eve get beguiled by the serpent, representing that entity of wisdom, of trickery, of beguilement. She got beguiled, and then she beguiled the man, or Adam allowed himself to be beguiled because he put her on a pedestal. And thereafter, after they saw that the quote-unquote fruit that they ate was good in their eyes, and they got an understanding of sin and the difference between right and wrong, it tells you that they hid. They hid from quote-unquote God as he searched for them in the garden. Once again, that's where we get the term Saturn from, or Satyr from, S-A-T-Y-R. It means to hide, okay? The hidden one is allegorical, it's not literal. Now, Saturn, or the hidden planet, falls within the constellation of Capricorn, as we know as the goat. That is why the satyrs are viewed as being, or depicted as being, half man, half goat, also known as Faunus. That's where we get the character of Pan from. The name Pan means to turn aside, or to be turned aside. In other words, what? To sin. Okay? And Pan was known as what? He was known as the quote-unquote woodland god, the god of pederasty. That's why I go through these things in detail for some of you brothers to understand the meaning, the resonance behind why the priesthood of the Catholic Church, why they engage in what seems to be institutionalized pederasty or man-boy love. They're acting as priests of Pan or priests of Saturn.
Now let's keep it moving. Now we want to talk about the mistletoe. The mistletoe comes from Saturnalia, okay? And during Saturnalia, which I'm also going to cross-reference again later on, but during Saturnalia, they will use the mistletoe for sexual ritual practices, okay? These mistletoes were considered fertility plants. So this is why they tell you to kiss under the mistletoe. But instead of it being heterosexual back then, it was homosexual, okay? And so they were doing all kind of sex magic on each other back in ancient Greece using mistletoes. Okay, so every time you kiss under a mistletoe, you're partaking in a sex magic ritual practice, which stems from ancient Greece, an ancient Greek festival known as Saturnalia. Now we want to go to Holly, okay? Because you want to sing fa la 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 la, deck the halls with bobs of holly. Hollywood. I did a whole video on this damn near a year and a half ago. Hollywood, okay, is a wood that when you burn it and you inhale it, it causes you to hallucinate. And this was used in sorcery, occult magic, and rituals. This is why the main place which is used to psychologically program your mind is called Hollywood. Duh. This is the home of hypnosis on the planet through media, Hollywood. Okay, so now you got mistletoe, which is a fertility plant. Hollywood, which is a hallucinogenic, which has an hallucinogenic effect when you burn it and inhale it. Okay, so everything about Christmas that we just ran down has been occulted. Okay.
You know how many people die every year from bringing these trees into their house and the trees catch on fire? And the scriptures tell you not to do that. You can read Jeremiah, the 10th chapter, starting from the 2nd verse. It tells you about the vanity of the practices of the other nations, man. How they bring the tree into their home and they deck it with gold and silver. Those are the words that are used. Right? That's why you have that Christmas song, quote unquote, deck the halls with boughs of holly. Right? Same thing with the tree. That's what they do. So you're not supposed to do that. Even the mistletoe branch once again represents Nimrod. That's why you kiss under the holly branch or the mistletoe branch, because Nimrod was also known as the Holly King, which came into, of course, holly, the mistletoe was sprang into fullness around December 25th. You kiss under the mistletoe because that represents the reconciliation of the sun back into the world. Okay, so that's where all these practices come from. And this stuff goes way back to antiquity. Once again, it's your business if you celebrate it, but it has nothing to do with the scriptures at all. And you put the presents under the tree because those represent gifts to the reborn sun, right? Nimrod, or Osiris, or as he's known in rebirth as Tammuz, the god of vegetation. Okay, the evergreen tree represents everlasting life because it's never supposed to die.
Go look it up. Go look it up. Go look it up.
Who is Ankh's crack pipe?
Wins fatality.
Toasty!